One of the big mega trends that I think, particularly in fashion, for example, has been things like TikTok that have led to social influencers wearing something, and then that content or that product or that experience needing to be live on a website within minutes.
Hello and welcome back to the Retail Podcast. We've got a special show for you today. I'm joined by the CIO of NRF, Jason Hoolsema. Jason, welcome to the show. Mark, welcome to the show.
Great to see you.
Thank you. So today we're going to really sort of get deep dive into a technical area. And Jason, why don't you sort of maybe give us some context. Tell us about what life is like, because this is like a real lifting the curtains back and seeing what's going on at NRF. I mean, the traffic you guys must have to deal with. Just give us some insight. Really great.
Yeah. So our biggest challenge over the last several years has been modernization. We've had legacy systems in place for 15 to 20 years, and they've not evolved as quickly as we'd like them to. And so as AI is coming onto the scene, as there are better models to be able to create and deploy content, we've re-architected our entire ecosystem from our CMS system all the way through to the end user search and platform with Storyblok. And so it's been a remarkable journey, and it is now that we're on the other side of our launching our premier brand, or our NRF, our primary brand. It is what a change. It's to be able to track and see what we can see these days is transformed how we do things and how we're thinking about content.
Oh, fantastic. How long, for context, how long have you been at NRF?
13 years.
Wow. Okay. So this is an area that content obviously is something that has been part of the show, and that's what shows are about. So tell me some of the pain, like let's go back to 5 years when Storyblok weren't on the scene. Tell me some of the challenges that you were having in terms of what you wanted and what was preventing you from getting there.
One of the major things that kind of two big areas for us were around content creation. So we were on a Drupal platform. We had Solar for search, and discovering content was challenging. And Solar is, if anyone has used it, it's enterprise grade, but it is can be very complicated in the right context. And so our sites, when someone wanted to create content and try to do some types of personalization, we couldn't do that very quickly. It had to have the IT team come in with a developer group and be able to address a posting of a simple carousel on an event page, or creating content and things like that. And so you fast forward 5 years and we have Storyblok in place, and we have a few of the more modern tools. Content creation takes a quarter of the time that it used to. Instead of launching a site in 8 weeks, it takes us 3 weeks. It is much, much faster. Content creators have greater control over that user experience, and they can develop and deploy things with no IT intervention at all. So it is transformed how we conduct everyday business for us.
That's fantastic. And in terms of when you look to the future and the demands on your business, because again, I just think the number of partners, the number of content moments that you have, how do you envision the future in this world or around content? What sort of ideas have you got in what you were doing?
Well, we wanted to be able to reduce friction. The goal was the speed to market. We wanted to be able to respond. The industry changes so quickly, and with all of the new emerging technologies and just even the political landscape and everything that we needed to engage with happens at light speed, and we couldn't keep up. We would it would limiting our ability to respond and to address, current affairs, things that we needed to be more proactive on. And so with this deployment, what that gave us the ability to do was to act in near real time, to address this stuff in a 24-hour cycle. And that was tremendous for us. We had our show in New York had the largest attendance we've ever had. We had the best shows rating scores we've ever had. People were able to find the content they were looking for and engage with us in ways that they've never done before. So it has expanded our sphere of influence in a way that we just it was not possible before.
And this is just out of personal curiosity as an attendee. When you're talking about the content on the website, is that all the way, for example, from your agenda content? Like, is it the full spectrum, or is it only one? I don't know. Is it only one specific area?
Yeah. So when we started in our old architecture, it was literally you were on one URL and you couldn't cross pollinate between the various different things that were going on within our organization. And now when you're on Big Show and you can go to a piece of content there, or you search on nrf.com.
Yeah.
The way that it's federated is allows us to see content in one place and be able to suggest something in another. And so it gives us greater visibility into users coming to our site, gave greater visibility into what was the breadth of what we had.
Yeah. As an attendee, I did notice a difference, especially when I have to go back and look at content and match that content to a speaker or to an event or to a partner. I found normally what you get is like a big book, and you're like, you got to search through the book. At some of the old conferences, obviously they've digitized them now, but it's still almost, to me, all they've done is like taken photocopies of those pages that you then, it's still really awkward. And I did notice this year that getting to things was so much easier. And then as you were saying, like the cross-pollination from one platform to another, then to maybe to go out to LinkedIn or to go out to somewhere else was really good. Mark, I mean, it must be fantastic to have a customer as big as NRF and so such a powerhouse in the industry. I'm just curious, when CIOs like Jason are sort of thinking about this journey with you, where do they start? Where does this journey start?
Yeah, it's a good point. And, I get to meet a lot of senior business leaders like Jason who are in exactly the same situation. In the retail space, this challenge of getting content live quickly has become an increasingly big issue. One of the big mega trends that I think, particularly in fashion, for example, has been things like TikTok that have led to social influencers wearing something or seeing a new product that they might be testing out, and then that content or that product or that experience needing to be live on a website within minutes.
Yeah.
And Jason's colleagues, the people who are responsible for the content, as you probably have heard, they get frustrated really by the inability to be able to merchandise or get something up on their website very, very quickly, because they're often dependent on a developer or a process to get content up on a website. Whereas really what they want to be able to do is have a merchandiser, a product manager or a brand manager take a tile that might be already available on the website and be able to place in, here's what Kim Kardashian was wearing just a few moments ago.
Yeah.
And here it is available for you here and now.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, retailers have just been struggling to move at that pace that, for example, certainly this mega trend of social influencers has created. And so Jason,
as being a social influencer myself, but anyway, no, sorry to interrupt your train of thought there, but I'm just curious. One of the challenges that I've seen is what Jason was saying, is this cross-pollination of content, about content, you being confident that some of the content doesn't live in your world, it actually sits somewhere else. How much, I mean, Jason, how much do you see when you were as obviously part of the executive team, how much was the business coming to you for that?
Yeah, so the content team, we were getting requests that we just couldn't meet. And so that created some consternation within the organization about, just knowing what they wanted to say, knowing how they wanted to say it and what they wanted to include, and not having the capabilities to do so. And so that helped with buy-in, and that helped with getting folks on board, because when you talk about a digital transformation, that means so many things to so many people. And if you're not in technology, it means something very different likely. And so it gave the real world examples that we needed to be able to help push this forward. And it was the change that we asked the organization to go through was it was huge, monumental. Like, it was something that you don't do every year. And so in order to get that buy-in, we had to bring it down to, why should I care about this? Like, what would this do for me?
Yeah.
And so that's what we ended up, using some of those examples where we couldn't take content from other areas and we couldn't move fast enough to help them understand and bring it down to the level where they needed and could buy into it.
And Mark, what's the secret sauce in terms of the getting such a big system up and running? I think last time we spoke, you were telling me that there's a misconception of how difficult this is to do, that you guys can actually, the technology lends itself to simpler integration. Is that right?
Yeah. So when we start to actually talk to the retail landscape, one of the things that we've certainly seen is this increasing proliferation of screens. In fact, just to give you a real life example of something I went through recently, I wanted to purchase a new iPad. It was Christmas. You got to treat yourself. And I was looking to purchase this from one of the big, large retailers here in the UK, department stores here in the UK. And I noticed actually someone had a great offer, and I thought, oh wow, they've actually got a store not too far from me. I'll go and pick it up.
Yeah.
Incredible's that. But what was interesting is that there was an experience that I had at home, right, which is obviously one source of content.
Yeah.
There was a set of content that the person that I met, the Apple section within that department store,
yeah,
and she had a different price. And then a lot of these technology products have a little screen now in front of them to sort of describe how the product works and essentially sell you. And that had another price as well.
Oh wow!
And so there was a big disparity between the content and the experience that was happening. So anyhow, the net is that this new modern approach to content, which is often referred to as a headless CMS, it sounds like something from the 1600s in the UK with Henry VIII. But what it's actually doing is it's essentially enabling large retailers to have a singular pool of content, but to serve that content up, whether it be on a web browser at home for that retail experience, a little display that might be adjacent a product for merchandising that product, and now increasingly even little digital displays that go alongside the product with pricing information, for example.
So when you look at the show, for example, we have, many systems feed the content for that show. We have our backend database system that handles exhibitors and speakers and things like that. And then we have other content, like folks who are contributors that can contribute content to the event. And so we have to be able to deploy very quickly. And so it allows us without a huge level of effort, to take 4 or 5 different sources and be able to feed into the blocks within the site that you could drive experiences from. And so if you have the single source of your truth is from a source that can be controlled or validated, it makes the content, kind of in Mark's example, less likely to happen because you have systems that are actually pulling from the same source, but maybe presented differently on different platforms. So it's very powerful. And it allows us to be confident that what we're presenting is accurate and timely. The other piece that we're looking at is being able to create more personalized experiences. So, the dynamic homepage, being able to create and integrate search results with someone's background information so that we can actually create a page that's relevant and contextually important or necessary for whatever it is you're looking for. And that's massive. It's going to change. People they get bombarded every single day with things that that are not relevant and it's not important to them, and so they disengage. And so if you can provide people content that is targeted and specific on the fly when somebody logs into your site because of what you know about them, you can maintain that relationship. Oh, you understand me, and you can get people to engage with you on the content more actively.
Yeah, the future of retail is content. I'm not just saying that because of this content, but it is, from everything I've heard from conference CEOs, different business leaders, everyone talking about the proliferation of influencers, of all the different elements of digital touch points. All of them are content moments. And so therefore, I think to effectively do this, to serve content to users, you need to have some form of robust system in place. Just coming into the final couple of questions, Jason, in terms of words of wisdom, if I'm coming to look at this, and maybe if you cast your mind back to where you were before you had this system, what's one thing I need to be conscious of? What's one thing that you thought through this process you've learned that you would pass on?
I didn't realize the amount of effort that would be saved by, deploying Storyblok. I think the piece for me when they told me what the site we would gain back in productivity or hours of developer time, I didn't take that. I thought that was the joke. And, to be honest, because I think it can't possibly give me that much time back. It's not realistic. And I wish I'd done it sooner is kind of where I would go with it, for the simple reason is, a site launching 8 weeks versus, 3 weeks versus 8 is massive. Like that is a big deal. And so, and giving the control over the content creators in this process, going from a Drupal platform, which was extremely manual, to this, that's something I was not aware of, just the performance gains. I thought that was just marketing speak, and it wasn't. We're seeing those things today.
That's fantastic. Mark, final question. In terms of like the outcomes that Jason is there anything that you feel that we've missed that is a surprise to people? Because I think sometimes, because CMS obviously has been around since the dawn of what people are doing, it's sort of overlooked as the catalyst for a lot of transformation.
Yes.
I'm just curious on your thoughts.
Yeah, I think coming back to Jason's point, sometimes the biggest hindrance to making progress is, oh my God, how big a project is this going to be? How big a change is this going to be? Bearing in mind, a lot of today's systems have been in place 5, maybe 7 years. And so often what I hear is, oh my God, okay, is this just going to be too big a step?
Yeah.
And will the effort involved actually reward the fact that we're going to put all this effort in? And it's great to hear, and I hear it so many times, that it is worth making that big step. And certainly we're starting to see very large retailers with, years of content and very complex organizations have made that step, and it's been very, very worthwhile for them. So, and I think, if you're an organization that is increasingly looking to connect your digital online experience with the in-store experience, or you're implementing technology like kiosks and so forth, so essentially multi-screen digital environments where you do want to offer up a consistent service, probably now's the time to take the leap, because it's those types of transformations where this change can deliver the biggest advantage.
I know I said it's the final question, but just listening to you both talk, it's inspired me. It is the final question, I promise. When it's an AI question, I'm just, how far are we from like AI being the mechanism to deliver the content, right? That sort of layer above the platform that then is in. I mean, I'm just curious. You're the experts in the field. What do you think?
I think where for us, AI has become an important part of so many of our technology conversations. And I think when we're looking at connecting topics and things like that together, we're not there in terms of writing content and being able to have these tools kind of released and to develop content. But if I understand who you are and what you might be coming to the site for, there may be avenues of content that you haven't explored that we could use AI to help provide some more relevant contextual pieces that could create a more full picture of something that you're looking for, and potentially offer, make suggestions on offering things that you may not see in our content offering or shows or other products.
How far away is that? I mean, is that?
That's very near. I believe that's when we reach the end of this process. We're already having conversations today about how do we integrate these pieces into our content cycle.
Wow. That's brilliant. Jason, sorry, Mark.
Yeah, and I would add to what Jason said, right, which is, look, I don't think the robot or the bot is necessarily going to take over from our content creators, but I do think it's helping them. And as Jason said, understanding what performs well, what reads well, we're definitely seeing a big take up there. We're also seeing a big take up in translation, actually. So AI enabling us to take content that's on brand, that takes the brand personality and convey that in different languages. We're definitely seeing AI be taken advantage of there. But I think the human still has an awful lot to play in the development of content, right? And I know a lot of content creators who are very rightly very vociferous about that. But I do think AI can be a powerful enabler also in helping them to do their job. So yes, lots of opportunity.
That's wonderful. Mark, sorry, Jason, you want to?
No, I just, to echo those points, I think that I agree with that 100%. I think there is a scenario, and those use cases you described are some of what we're testing internally already to be able to make sure that our content stays on brand, that the translation piece is exceptionally, I think it's taken us further along than we've ever gone in that area. And I think those who are consuming the content find it more contextually relevant, and the translations are getting much, much better.
Yeah, I mean, look, NRF, while I was in Japanese, Portuguese, Spanish, French, I mean, like, there wasn't a language that I didn't hear while I was walking around NRF. So I can imagine how that will be a major play in the future. But Mark, Jason, thank you so much for giving up your time and joining me on the show. It's been, hopefully we've lifted the lid on the art of the possible in this world that is going underneath or going through such rapid transformation.
Thanks very much. Thanks.